transmigrated into the violent boss Little Mermaid. Chapter 1. Mermaid. It was early in the morning, still at the crack of dawn, when the sound of loud communication echoed from the mermaid vase. The surface of such an expansive pool remained tranquil. From time to time, a few mermaids would surface and curiously eye the people ashore. Beneath the water, a pale golden tail reclined against the rocky crevice. Its pale golden hair drifted along in the direction of the water flow, as fragments of light were reflected and refracted from its hidden fishtail. Ding-a-ling! The keeper rang the bell. "It's time to eat!" The little mermaids, whom heard the sound, swam to the shore one after another, and the sound of fishtails slapping the water surface was endless. The little mermaid in the crevice of the rock was stirred away by the commotion. He squinted his pale golden eyes, still tinged with drowsiness from just being awakened. The little mermaid turned his head and took a glimpse at the pot of fish. Rather than swimming to the shore as they did, he leisurely swam out from the crevice of the rock. With one flip of his fish tail, a trail of bubbles was left behind as he swam deeper into the depths of the water. When he descended, the little mermaid casually grabbed a piece of kelp, easily cutting the kelp with his sharp nails. Then he threw a stone into a bowl-shaped stone while he ate the kelp. 6 stones already lay within that stone bowl. So today was the 6th day he had transmigrated. Jung King-ju signed. 6 days ago, he stayed up late to finish reading a novel. In the beginning, he was attracted by the desire to rise, be restrained first, and the face slapping in the introduction. The beginning was still good. It was about the protagonist, Fu Yuan. His family background wasn't that good. He had to rely solely on his hard work and strive all the way, progressing from an ordinary person to attaining a high position as a marshal. In a battle, he suffered an injury from an accident. His mental energy dispersed, and his sea of consciousness almost collapsed. Based on the setting in the novel, only a mermaid can heal this sort of injury. The spiritual energy of mermaids is innately able to condense dispersed mental energy and restore the sea of consciousness. However, the serious injury caused the protagonist's temperament to be unstable. Under the violence and agitation, he could not even suppress his own emotions. All the mermaids were scared of being harmed and stayed at a respectful distance away from him. The mermaids refused to treat him. If coercive measures were taken, the mermaid would directly seal its 5 senses and would not leak out the least bit of the spiritual energy. Nobody could do anything about it. Fu Yuanchuan's illness got worse and worse. His family seized the opportunity to steal his legend token, causing the interstellar war to break out. His close friends that joined hands with him kicked him when he was down. For a period of time, Fu Yuanchuan became a target of public criticism. He was in a high position, but was spurned by others. Initially, the protagonist should have risen at this time and started a series of face slapping in line, but the author ran off in the end, leaving the novel incomplete and directly sentenced the protagonist to death. After Jung King-ju finished reading this novel, he stared at that finished at the end and did not come to for a long time. He got so hung up on it that all he dreamt of that night was Fu Yuanchuan. As a result, when he woke up and opened his eyes, he found out that he had become a pale golden-tailed mermaid. The little mermaid was no more than the size of a bomb, and its height was about the size of 2 goldfish. This sort of mermaid, with a small body, could not survive more than 2 days in the wild. Luckily for Junking-ju, the place he is at now is the mermaid breeding base, the only place in the empire where mermaids can be bred. In the interstellar age, cosmic radiation was inevitable. People who have been exposed to outer space for a long time will constantly accumulate this radiation. A mermaid's spiritual energy is the only power discovered so far that can eliminate the negative effects of radiation. A newly born little mermaid will be sent to a seawater pond with a sort of artificial landscape for those in need to be purchased. It seemed like they would select the mermaid, but in fact, it is only possible when the mermaid approves of the other party and voluntarily lives with them. In addition to this, there are still the expensive price and the extremely demanding conditions set by the mermaid breeding base. Even so, there are still many mermaids being bought every day. Whenever someone approached the pond to choose, Junking-ju would always hide at the bottom and lie on various stone cracks. He was waiting for Fu Yuan-chang. It's just that Junking-ju was a bit helpless as he looked at the 6 stones in the stone bowl. He didn't know when he could meet Fu Yuan-chang. Junking-ju only remembered that Fu Yuan-chang had been to the mermaid breeding base more than once in the original text. Because his symptoms were unusual, the hospital could not even relieve the spread of his illness. He needed the spiritual energy of a mermaid more urgently than anyone else. It's just that Fu Yuan-chang failed to take a mermaid out every single time. Over time, the condition of his illness worsened, and this gave Fu Yuan-chang's family a chance. He has waited for such a long time, but Fu Yuan-chang never came. Sometimes, Junking-ju could not help but to suspect that he came too late and missed the plot. Junking-ju shook his head. All he could do now was to wait. After eating the kelp, Junking-ju shook his tail. He turned around and wanted to find a rock crack to sleep in. But when he turned around, someone ashore spoke. Junking-ju vaguely heard Fu Yuan-chang's name. Your Royal Highness Noel's affinity is really extraordinary. When you come to stand at the shore, all these mermaids are rushing towards you. If Fu Yuan-chang has an affinity like your Royal Highness, the mermaids would not refuse to treat him one time after another. I heard that he has locked himself in for quite a few days, and no one has gone to check if he's alive or not. Don't wait until his corpse stinks to find out that he's gone. Junking-ju was fed up with it and knitted his brows. Here we go again. The people who came here to buy mermaids every time, the words would inevitably carry undertones to ridicule Fu Yuan-chang. It's like degrading Fu Yuan-chang would make them special. That person, who was called Your Royal Highness Noel, lightly said, "Who is worthy to be compared to me?" Junking-ju's figure paused. He raised his head to look over and could not clearly see the other body's appearance through the water. But this formal address of Your Highness showed that the position of this person was not low. If there hadn't been Fu Yuan-chang, who fought hard in the war, the empire would have disappeared in that battle against the Turks. Can you even become Your Majesty smoothly? What qualifications does a rubbish that sits idle and enjoys the fruits of others' labor have to say such a thing? Junking-ju could not restrain the surge of anger in his heart and looked at the appearance of His Royal Highness Noel, sneering and fabricating lies to ridicule Fu Yuan-chang. He gradually narrowed his eyes and swam towards them. The man at the side was the first to discover a pale gold mermaid approaching. "Your Highness, look! That pale gold mermaid is coming over and keeps looking at Your Highness." He analyzed with a flattering smile and said, "Looks like it wants to become the mermaid of Your Highness." "The pale gold mermaid actually matches my hair color very well." Noel got up to bypass the mermaids in front of him. He lifted his chin slightly and walked to the empty space at the shore with an arrogant look. He crouched down and extended his hands towards the mermaid in the pond. "Come here." Joking Jude raised his brows. "Come over." "Here I come." His fish tail was swung lightly, but it suddenly accelerated when he was about to get close to him, and a trace was quickly drawn on the surface of the water. "Look! The little mermaid can't wait for..." Plop! His fish tail swept up from the seawater and slapped His Highness straight in the face. There was a crisp slap. "Ah!" Plop! The splashing seawater entered his mouth and nose in an instant. His refined blonde hair was plastered all over his face. Noel got up in a hurry, cutting a sorry figure. He could not stop from drawing back and unknowingly stepped on something under his foot. He stumbled and fell. "Your Highness!" Junking Ju fled after he slapped him. With a swing of his tail, he sank to the depths of the water with ease and swam to the depths of the rock crevice to hide. A strategic retreat to be spared from the retaliation of Noel. Junking Ju leisurely stole a glance from a cranny. Noel, who was ashore, had already burst with rage. The scent of seawater covered his whole body, and even a red mark and a dull ache surfaced on the part of his face that was slapped. Noel was so angry that his chest continuously rose and fell. He gnashed his teeth and pointed towards the surface of the water. "You..." "What? Where is the manager? Hand over the stinky fish that's seeking death." "Catch it for this prince." Junking Ju looked at Noel, who was flustered and regarded it as watching a clown dancing. He simply did not worry about what he dared to do to a mermaid. Mermaids are extraordinary existences in the interstellar and are treated as pets for interstellar people to raise. But if aristocrats want to survive, they cannot live without the spiritual energy of the mermaids. Although the mermaids are that body being raised, the status of the mermaids seems to be higher. After all, who doesn't want to live longer? The manager of the base will not intervene in this. Even if they really come, they will definitely be on the side of the mermaid. Joking Ju no longer paid attention to Noel, who had gone mad. He turned around and decided to return to the depths of the water to sleep. Before he could leave, his peripheral vision swept past a few mermaids swimming over in a hurry. What's going on here? It was not only these few mermaids. There were also a lot of mermaids behind them. The mermaid who went to the surface of the pond just now also seemed to be swimming back at the same time. They were swimming away from the shore, as if they were avoiding something. It was also terribly silent ashore. There were all sorts of chaotic sounds mixed together just now like a racket, but other than the sound of water flowing now, the slightest bit of speaking had also disappeared. Junking Ju knitted his brows and surprisingly came out from the rock crevice. Is it possible that Noel did something again? But before he could figure out what was going on, he heard people talking in a low voice ashore. Why is he fool? What is he doing here? The mermaids have been scared away. I'm speechless. Can he just stay away from the breeding base? If I were him, I would stay at home and wait for death instead of running around to cause trouble for others. Some people deliberately lowered their voices to warn them. Keep your voices down. Don't let him hear it." "So what if he hears it? There are so many people. Can he catch us all?" The words were full of ridicule and contempt, but the person did not dare to shout it out loud. Ju was taken aback. Realizing who was ashore, he poked his head out of the water at once and took a glance at that lone figure on the shore. The people around him avoided him like a plague. There was no one within 1 meter of his location. The corner of Ju's mouth was slightly pursed. He gazed at the man with a pale complexion on the shore. The man looked indifferent, and there were no ripples in his expression as he looked at the empty pond in front of him. Ju felt that Fujian Trang did not seem to be serious about selecting a mermaid and wishing to buy a mermaid. Maybe he never thought of bringing a mermaid away. Coming here for him was like a deathbed struggle. The mermaids who fled far away had undoubtedly taken away his chance at prolonging his life. The people ashore cramped in groups of 2 or 3. Their eyes secretly took a glance in the direction of Fujian Trang, and they kept talking non-stop. But Fujian Trang simply stood in silence, without any reaction. Ju's heart felt inexplicably bitter. A plop sound. Ju sank into the water again. He shook his fishtail, swam against the oncoming flood of fishes towards Fujian Trang. End of chapter 1.